Howdy, y'all. Welcome to another episode of the Rainbow Crossing Podcast, a podcast where Gen X and Gen Z discuss life's challenges and how we face them as queer people. We have these open conversations to foster a sense of community through different perspectives. My name is Julio, and with me is...
Daniel.
Hey, Daniel.
Hey, Julio.
What is up with you this week?
I had a wedding last night. 2 longtime friends got married, and a lot of longtime friends that I've known for 15 years or so were in attendance, several from out of town. So it was a really nice celebration of their love. We went only until it was until 10 o'clock, got home.
Okay, that's a reasonable time.
Yeah, but it was a little outside of Austin. So by the time I got home, it was almost 11. And although I did have other engagements that I could have gone to, I looked at my bed and it looked so appealing. And I was so tired, and I had a couple of Mexican martinis. So I got in bed just as the rain was starting, and it helped lull me to sleep. It was so nice.
Well, it sounds like you had a great time.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're here for another day.
We are.
And it's kind of still cloudy, but I'm enjoying this.
Yeah, it's not bad.
At all.
We need it.
And I'm talking about the weather. Are we old people here?
Yes.
Moving on.
Wait, no.
You, yes. Me, no. So I refuse to keep talking about the weather.
Obviously, there are so many things that we could be talking about right now. And I know, I'm sure all of our listeners, viewers, feel the same way. There's so many things that are just overwhelming right now. That just insane things that are we actually watching TV, like news, or are we watching scripted television?
Like happening in real life?
No, stuff that is not real.
Gotcha.
Seems like this is not reality. The demolishing of an entire wing of the White House, that can't be real. And yet, that is the reality that we're living in now.
Our reality feels like a reality TV show.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it feels like.
It does. And it seems like each week, each month, they're upping the stakes to see how humanity responds.
And it's becoming even more heavily produced every single day.
Yeah. As all of these things are happening, and sometimes it feels like these are distractions. Obviously, the destruction of a historical landmark, the People's House, is way more than just a distraction, obviously. But there is a much bigger issue that continues to just run rampant across our country, and that is...
dictatorship.
Well, yes. But a symptom of that is the ICE raids that are happening right now. And
led by the dictatorship.
Yes, exactly. Yes. And it just feels like it's just so out of control, and we see these ICE officials, unofficials, being sent into places that are largely peaceful, like Portland, this week into New York. I don't know how they thought that going into New York was a good idea. Like, New Yorkers aren't going to make a stand. Like, that's insane to me that you would even try that. But we continue to see these raids that are just completely disruptive to not just people who are undocumented or here illegally, but to everyday citizens. We both have people who we are very close to who either are here undocumented or are here on DACA or et cetera. Like, that affects, I think, so many people who, whatever space you are in life, whether you're a white man whose family has been here for generations, or if you're a first-generation Mexican-American person. Like, there are so many of us, and there are too many people who think that what is happening is justified, who believe the lies that they're being told about ICE and what they're doing and the impact that they're having. And I thought it would be great to just talk about a few of those things that kind of break the myths apart.
I totally agree, but at the same time, let's find out the resolution of all the actual problems that are happening in the States and how they're painting it towards ICE and Latin culture and anybody who is classified as undocumented or illegal.
Yeah, we can talk about how to actually fix these problems, but who's going to put it into place? Our elected officials are not putting any of this into place because they're all bought and paid for. It doesn't feel like it gives us much hope, but one thing we can do is we can talk about this, and we can talk about it to the people who are not educated in these things, And I understand that a lot of people just aren't in that place in their lives where they even have time to digest much information. They are working 2 jobs. They're taking care of a family of 4. Ooh. They have all of these responsibilities that you and I don't necessarily have, that many of our listeners don't have. But those people are people we're friends with at the same time, many of us, or they are coworkers with us. And I really struggle with the idea of like, how do we disseminate this information to the masses, to the people who are not willingly trying to educate themselves? And I don't know that there's an answer to that, but what we can do is we can have one-on-one conversations and try to make a difference in an individual's life.
Yeah, I mean, just realizing how actually common people, like how common it is to know somebody who is being affected by this. Mm-hmm. And you think that it's not affecting you, but someone who you know is being affected by it.
Yes.
Whether you realize it or not, it's that close to you.
Yeah. Right.
And I think it's more of understanding of how we can get everyone to understand that it's literally right next door to you. All of these problems are happening.
And, you know, the people that you know who may be affected by it, they may not be arrested, although we do have a friend, and you don't know this person, but a friend of a friend whose fiance was recently taken in by ICE.
Oh, wow.
And we have plenty of friends here who are on DACA. We may not know all of them, but they are all scared right now. And we do have friends that are undocumented who are making big decisions right now about how they're going to lead their lives given the state of affairs right now.
This has nothing to do with opening up the borders or closing the borders,
right,
or people coming
right,
in illegally and causing chaos to the United States.
Right.
That's not what's happening. If
yeah,
illegal things are happening, let's deal with it accordingly. I'm not saying that we have to just let everybody slide, but at the end of the day, that's not what's happening. We're affecting human rights. We're discriminating against anybody who just fits the category of what they're looking for, which is mostly anybody who's just brown or speaking Spanish. That's getting targeted directly. Mm-hmm. So,
and we're going against the Constitution by not providing due process.
Of course.
Because due process is for every single person
on this land.
And for people who are saying, oh, but they're criminals, but you don't know that they're a criminal.
Nope.
I mean, I can go up and say, you're a criminal. Does that mean all of a sudden your due process gets taken away just because of I made an accusation, because I, as a white man, accused you of something? No, of course not. I could be lying. No due process is taking place in a lot of these cases. And so much is going against what America stands for.
Well, this isn't America anymore.
Well,
it might have the name, but we can just change names at any point. Well, to certain things, apparently.
Yeah, quite easily. An executive order will do the trick. Yeah.
But let's actually get into the lies. The lies that we're constantly hearing about immigrants that aren't factual. Mm-hmm. And let's actually fact check them and find out the truth.
Yeah. So you hinted to one just a moment ago, and that is that ICE is only targeting criminals. And we know that that's not the case at all. Because there's a good percentage, over 70%, actually have no criminal record whatsoever. Now, some people would argue that if you are in the U.S. illegally, undocumented, you are a criminal. Mm-hmm. However, there are people who are being arrested who are trying to go through the legal process. People who are here lawfully, who came here through a variety of means. It could be DACA. It could be that they are seeking asylum. They could be refugees. There are a lot of different ways that people are here from other countries, and they're here lawfully. And some of those people are being taken away right now. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, the promise wasn't we're going to get rid of everybody who's ever been here, who's come here from another country. The promise was we're going to get rid of people who are violent offenders, people who are committing crimes on a day-to-day basis, not the crime of coming into the country, but actual crimes that are negatively impacting us. And that promise has not been fulfilled.
Mm-mm. So that lie right there is just one of many.
Yes. Yeah.
That we need to change the narrative on,
right,
and actually talk about truth. Because if you also think about it, I mean, most Latino people I know are always happy to help anybody and are actually one of the most welcoming, kind, generous, smiling communities that I know.
Yeah.
Like, if I think about it. So also look at reality and the people around you and see who's actually trying to contribute to society and be a gentle neighbor.
Mm-hmm. Here's one that I see a lot online, is that undocumented immigrants are getting Medicare and Medicaid. And that's what a lot of people are saying, that the holdup is with the Democrats not coming back to the table, that Republicans are saying, we don't want to give money to health care for undocumented immigrants. And the fact of the matter is, in regards to undocumented immigrants, they're not eligible for Medicare and Medicaid. There is no way, unless they like majorly falsify paperwork, and even then, all the checks and balances that are in place, that will easily be weeded out. They are not being just given, hey, you're new to the country, here's a Medicaid form, fill this out, and you're going to get free health care all of a sudden. That just is not happening. Not on a federal level. States can do whatever they want to do with their funds, but on a federal level, it's just not happening. The money that we pay into taxes is not going to undocumented immigrants' health care. Even if you go through the process and get a green card, for example, you still have to wait 5 years before you can actually even apply.
The process is a long time. Like anything that has to do with you being from another country and coming here, it takes years to get settled.
Yeah. I will say that emergency Medicaid, so if you go to an emergency room, they are going to treat you. You know, no matter what your status is, an emergency room will treat you, because that's just the ethical thing to do. But that is the case in any developed country in the world. So we're not an exception there at all. And it's just the humane thing to do. I think anyone can agree on that for the most part.
Another lie is that immigrants are taking our jobs. Which, is that true? You think it's true?
No, I don't.
Y'all heard him say yes. The white man said yes, it's true. No, it's definitely not true.
No, it is not.
If anything, they are helping with every single job that you don't want to do.
There are plenty of jobs I don't want to do. Most jobs I don't want to do.
Yes, but every job that the typical American doesn't want to do is being picked up by the people who are grateful to have a job, which for the most part are immigrants.
Right.
They are looking for better opportunities to not only help themselves, but to help the land that they live on.
Yes.
Because I doubt you're wanting to build your own house. I doubt you're wanting to cook some of the food that you just can easily access just out on the street. I doubt that you want to clean your place or whatever it is that you want to do that my family and that my community are constantly doing for people that don't want it.
And it keeps costs down. Let's say that we do.
Not only are they doing the work, but they're doing it for very little is the thing.
If we were to remove everyone from those types of positions, and first of all, I don't think many white people are going to want to do them, but even if they did, they would demand a much higher salary for the most part, which means we who are engaging in those services would have to pay more, which we don't want to do that either, especially at this stage of inflation where we're not making more money in our salaries, but costs are just rising across the board.
Yeah.
So another lie, immigrants don't pay taxes.
Which piggybacks right off of we're taking jobs. So like if we're taking jobs from the United States of America, you do know that every single job that is by the government has to pay taxes and takes taxes away from that job that is provided from the U.S.
Yeah. Yes.
So how can you be taking someone's job and also not have to pay the taxes?
Right. Undocumented immigrants are paying literally billions into the Social Security system, which they do not get any benefits from. They're paying into a system that we benefit from, those of us who are citizens, and they don't get anything out of it. They get the pleasure of giving us money and not getting anything in return other than their job and their paycheck. They still get taxed at the same rate that the rest of us do without the benefits. And that's Social Security Administration reporting there. Like, we know that. The government is telling us that that is the case. But if we talk about immigrants versus corporations, immigrants actually do pay more than a lot of corporations pay, which is just insane. And we continue to think The immigrant
Are
is the
doing
problem. And we're not looking at where the problem actually is. I don't understand. I feel like the left understands this. I don't understand why no one else sees the rich man as the actual problem.
I think the more and more people talk about it, that eventually that's just we will get to that point.
That's why we're doing this. Yes.
Yeah, that's exactly, because the more and more you talk about it, hopefully the more it's heard, the more it's actually understood and believed.
How about crime rates? Do you think immigrants increase crime rates?
I've had immigrants around me my whole life, and it's to the point where like we've always just had to be more cautious about everything, more aware, more observant, more kind. We just on the best behavior, because if you're trying to build a life somewhere where you're already being judged, you have to just be on your best behavior and actually contribute to the things around you and show that you're a like vital member to society.
And that seems like common sense, but we don't even have to rely on common sense. We have data, the FBI data, the American Immigration Council data. It all shows that people who come here through immigration or undocumented immigrants, that they are actually much less likely to commit a crime versus someone who is native born. There's data to back that up. In fact, demographic and crime data shows that as the immigrant population grew from 1980 to 2022, that crime rates actually decreased. So we're not seeing a correlation between immigration increasing and crime rates increasing. In fact, we're seeing the opposite of that.
It's not an easy journey just to move from one place to another and start fresh, but you're doing it in the hopes of it becoming a better reality for yourself.
Yeah.
So the things that you've had to endure that way, instead of just being born somewhere and having everything to your access, is quite different. And I think that's where immigrants have a more sense of what is right and what is wrong and what is human and inhumane. And I think that's probably helps with not bringing so much crime and letting that kind of environment flourish around them.
That's what our country was founded on, and there was a sense of pride in that at one point in time. But that's when people were immigrating from Europe largely. The mindset of immigrants hasn't really changed since that time frame.
You endure a lot being an immigrant.
Yeah. It's just that immigrants look different now than they did 200 years ago. So the people who immigrated at that point in time see things through a different lens. Unfortunately, they have forgotten our past.
So do you think ICE is restoring law and order to the U.S. like our president thinks that's what's happening?
I cannot imagine that people look at what ICE is doing and think that. I understand that there are times that they do remove violent criminals, and that is a good thing, of course. No one is going to argue that. But there are so many others that they are removing as well, and just their presence is so disruptive. We can see through some cases that have been very popularized on social media, on television, that there have been many cases where people are removed unjustly, unfairly.
Of course.
And can you imagine...
It's become the norm.
Yeah, but can you imagine being placed in a holding cell at 17?
No.
And because we've heard stories like this where they're given a moldy mattress to sleep on. They have to use a toilet in front of 20 other people. They're given barely anything to eat. 2-3 days before they're finally released, and it's decided, okay, we arrested you unfairly, unjustly. And they return to life. Like, how do you return to life and not be scarred by that, especially as a younger person?
Yeah, we have to find a way to be able to apply enough pressure of rebellion, but also establish peace at the same time. It sounds tricky, it sounds complicated, but we can't just be sitting back enough, but we need to have enough pressure to show that we are the ones that are actually in charge.
It's a fine line to walk, but we have to
get there.
Be walking that line for sure. For sure. So another lie that's often told is that most immigrants come to the U.S. illegally. And that also we have data on. And we know that actually only 23% of immigrants come to the U.S. illegally. The rest are naturalized citizens, they are refugees, they are visa holders. Now, sometimes those things lapse while they're here.
Yeah.
And they
because the process takes a long time.
Right. They overstay their visa, or something is overturned, or they have to continue to go through the court system to make sure that either it's renewed or they continue down the process of getting a green card or whatever the case is. So sometimes people who come here lawfully, it does turn into an unlawful situation, but most are actively trying to actually go down the right path. Mm-hmm. So the idea that all of these people came here illegally, it's just not true.
Yeah.
There are people who cross the border illegally. Yes, that has happened. But most people come here with some kind of paperwork in hand, or once they're here, they get some kind of paperwork. DACA, for example. DACA is built around the idea that people were brought here as children. They didn't have any say in the matter. There's no 2-year-old who's actively crossing the border. But now they've been given this opportunity to apply for this program, or were previously. There are no new DACA recipients, unfortunately. And we understand that we need a path for citizenship for people, mm-hmm. particularly who have been here their whole lives, don't know anything other than the U.S., mm-hmm. in a lot of cases don't even speak the language from the place that they came from. And they are law-abiding and contributing citizens. And again, they're paying into Social Security without being able to benefit from this Social Security payment, among other things.
Immigrants give more than the natural, normal, average citizen of the U.S.
without getting as much
in return. Yeah, of course. Yeah. So you're giving tenfold and receiving this much back.
Right.
Which is not fair at all.
Yeah.
But it's the norm. Any other lie that they're trying to apply to paint the narrative of immigrants is just
right
bullshit.
Yeah, and one of those narratives is that they're coming here for handouts, and that's just not the case.
No,
they are coming here to
work for a better life,
for safety.
Yes,
to be reunited with family who's already here.
Yeah.
There are a lot
which
of reasons,
all takes work. All of that is work of some sort.
Yes, there are a lot of reasons people come here, but coming here thinking I'm just going to get a handout. I don't think anyone has such unrealistic views that they're going to just move into the U.S. and have everything handed to them.
Not at all. Everyone who comes here starts with nothing, and usually takes a very long time to just establish a foot through a door.
Yeah.
In reality.
Yep. Another lie that is often told is that immigrants are draining the economy. And that kind of goes hand in hand of some of the other things that we've already talked about. But I do think it's important to note again that immigrants are contributing hundreds of billions of dollars to our gross domestic product. But it's also important to remember that the U.S. birth rate is declining, and our workforce, the people who are going to take care of us as we're getting older, is declining. So immigrants, removing them as a component of that will only
make things
further
even worse. Yeah.
that
we'll
problem.
Speed up that process.
Yeah, exactly.
We're going to hit rock bottom quicker.
Yeah. So not only are immigrants not draining the U.S. economy, they're actually contributing to mm-hmm. it in workforce, in taxes, and just in physical presence.
Immigrants are trying to build up and heal what the government is breaking down.
Yeah.
And then the government is blaming them for it breaking down.
Yes.
Makes no sense.
When you stop and think about it, and when you look into the actual facts and figures, it doesn't make any sense. No.
I'm a very private person when it comes to my personal life. Will I talk about things? Of course. But there are people within my community that are being affected by this and have been affected by this, or is just applying so much pressure that the average person won't understand, like having to choose whether to stay and get deported in a very messy, negative, chaotic way and traumatizing way, especially if you're dealing with family and seeing your family or the people that you love or care about being taken away with nothing to do and no one standing up for you and basically treating you like a bag of meat to get you somewhere else. And people are choosing that, or to go back to something that they don't know anymore in their own terms. But even then, not everyone that happens to gets to choose that that's the better path for them, and they might even be leaving their everything that they built back in this country just to go back to nothing as well. So there's just a lot of community that is being torn apart right now. And we need to have more grace for the things that we don't understand and not actually point fingers of the things that we do not know and actually point fingers at the things that we do know. And if you don't know, look it up actually from multiple different sources instead of one specific outlet that has programmed you to believe something and has made you feel like breaking up families is normal or is something that we're just going to let slide, because that is not the human way.
Right. It's not an exact comparison, but we as gay people should be able to have some sympathy and empathy for undocumented immigrants who are going through this right now, because we historically have often been ostracized, murdered for just being who we are, and that threat has left us living in fear. 75 years ago, gay men, like we couldn't have this conversation and put it out in a public forum. And they lived under the fear of either being ostracized or being put to death. And again, it's not an exact comparison, but that's where undocumented immigrants are right now. They are contributing members of society, just like gay people, but they are living in fear. And yes, they could leave everything behind and go somewhere else. But like you said, like you're not necessarily leaving something good for something better. So it's kind of a no-win situation.
It's a no-win. Latinos are in a no-win situation right now unless we choose to support one another. Not just the Latino community supporting the Latino community, but everyone supporting everyone at this point, because there is no win-win. Either you get deported or you go back to nothing and then leave half of your life or most of your life that you've known creating your new life over here.
Right.
What else do we get? What other option do we have?
Right. And for people who are saying, well, they should have gone about the right way, the legal path. Well,
that takes years.
It's easy to say that, but in reality, a lot of people are trying to do that, and they're still getting arrested by ICE right now. So that argument really isn't on the table anymore.
At all. So at this point, wake up, start waking each other up, whether it's a slap or two.
Yeah.
At this point.
We obviously, like you said, we need to walk a very fine line right now, because we need to start organizing. We need to start speaking out. But we also need to recognize that there are a lot of things that could happen that I don't want anybody to be hurt.
No.
Is what I'm trying to say.
But pressure needs to be applied.
Yes. So, and it is a fine line to apply pressure without anyone else getting collateral damage from this. At a minimum, we all have a voice. Mm-hmm. We need to use our voice and speak for the things that we believe in and against the things we don't believe in, that we know are not right and we know are against what this country was founded on.
Because even though I feel pressure and I feel intense, I still can't help but to be optimistic and think that everything is going to work out the way that it needs to. Yeah. While still feeling these feelings and feeling intense and more bothered by the day-to-day.
Yeah. Well, hopefully those feelings drive us towards that better tomorrow.
That's all that feeling does.
Yeah.
Is it just drives me to keep being intense if I need to be in the right areas.
Yeah. Yeah. You just got to hone it in the right way. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. But be careful at the same time.
Yes. We do need to be smart right now about what actions we take. Absolutely.
Because they will find you at this point.
Yes. Yeah.
Knocking at your door.
Yeah.
But make a scene. Yeah. Cause a scene. Let the neighbors know this is happening. Because if it's happening to you, it can happen to the other person.
Yeah. Yes.
So be aware. Be vigilant. And build community at this point. So that's all we have for today.
That's what we're here to do. Yeah. Thank you, Julio. Thank you, guys. Please give us a like, comment, subscribe, and use your voice.
All right.
We'll see you next time.
Bye, y'all.